So Raw this week did come from Birmingham, UK, because of course WWE is headed to Paris, and you can probably hear my voice. It's not because I went to Raw. It's not even because I went to Forbidden Door. It's because when WW and AEW comes to town, this independent wrestler goes out and works a lot of shows, and I shout like an idiot, and I blow out my vocal cords. But that's okay, because you know what we're going to do? We're going to completely ruin them for life here on Ups and Downs, the only wrestling review show you need. I understand this may be a difficult one, because it kind of sounds like there's a mouse in my throat, and he's trying to escape. Shouldn't have said that. Let's up those downs. But yes, Roman Reigns was basically treated like he was the best person that ever had walked planet Earth. But very interestingly, he was like, you know who was right around about 18 months ago? It was Cody Rhodes, because I have been left with nothing. I got no wise man. I've got no bloodline. I'm a sad panda, Roman Reigns. Now, you never know with crazy crowds. When he mentioned Cody's name, everybody booed. And Roman, like he was some kind of video game character in an RPG, went interesting. As if his intrigue points were going to go up by 2. Now, I don't think we need to worry about this. How many times have we seen the internet go, oh my gosh, Cody Rhodes is about to be booed all the time. And actually what happens is he comes out and everybody goes nuts. And even if they don't, who cares, man? Wrestling's way more interesting when it's like this. Roman also said it all comes down to the fact the Vision has stolen all this stuff away from him when he turned his attention to Jey Uso's. And finally, and he really needs to say this to Jey's face, which I guess he does later, he was like, oh man, I'm so happy Jey Uso is in that main event, that Clash in Paris, because he deserves it. I was like, Roman, you can't start doing that chant, otherwise everybody is doing it. But yeah, we need more of this. Roman Reigns showing love to his cousin, who he emotionally bullied for around about a decade. Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed then interrupted, because of course it is Roman versus Bronson at Clash in Paris. And Heyman essentially said, I will forgive you for being so horrible to me. And when the fans started to do the whole Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman tried to make them go Bronson Reed. You're not going to believe this. It didn't work. Roman then promised that he was going to kick Paul Heyman's ass after he kicked Bronson's as well. And my favourite part was Reigns is talking about the fact he's lost everything, and he even lost his shoes. Do not forget, in 2025, Bronson Reed is the brand new Repo Man. Then they both talked about the fact they were Samoan, and Bronson had this really cool lie when he was like, man, my tattoos weren't paid for, they were earned, as he essentially sold himself as a maniac. I love it when wrestlers do this. In any other walk of life, you'd be arrested right away, but not here. You're not going to believe this. Given that they do have a match at the pay-per-view, this segment ended with a brawl. Some people have said they think this match is a little bit drab for Clash in Paris as well, but I don't, because you're taking a super duper whooper star and you're putting him with someone who is the level below, so let's try and level Bronson Reed up. I will say, this opening promo segment just kind of felt like an opening promo segment. I think WWE knew the Birmingham fans would go crazy, which they did do, so I am going to give it an up. Nothing else. Roman Reigns has entered that crazy super high period now where he can just do whatever he wants and everyone's going to cheer him for the rest of his life. When it does come to Reigns, that's twice as impressive, because 10 years ago, everybody hated his ass. It's getting up. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio then fell out about El Grande Americano again because they just can't get it on. When it was time for JD McDonagh taking on Dragon Lee, this was totally crazy, because early on, Finn Balor was casting distraction, he was doing interference, and he was making sure there was some confusion, so there's one on a dick board. But the referee saw him and said, Finn, you have to leave, and everybody booed. No two ways about it. On UK shores, Finn Balor is a babyface. Speaking of locations as well, JD, McDonagh, and Lee made sure they had all the places here. We had a Spanish fly, we had a German suplex, we had a Japan bomb. The Liger bomb. I don't know why I call it Japan bomb. The stupidest thing I ever said. Basically, my joke didn't work, get over it. This is when Dominic Mysterio tried to interfere, because it is Monday, and it is an episode of Monday Night Raw, but it was AJ Styles who chased him away. So a round of applause to AJ Styles. When was that Elimination Chamber when he did this to LA Knight? It was years ago. He will still fly around the world kicking your ass. So he's essentially Russell Crowe from South Park. It worked though, because Dragon Lee then got Operation Dragon for the 1, 2, 3. And when the flub was the last time Dragon Lee won a match on Monday Night Raw. So I'm going to do that thing that I always do, but this week I'm going harder, which sounds a little bit sexy. The match is getting an up because they're both very good workers, but man, I'm just so bored of distractions. Now, I saw somebody said this to me on the internet the other day, oh, Simon, I can't believe you never won any of these. I do want them. I don't want them to leave wrestling. I love shenanigans. I just kind of feel like Raw has fallen into a holding pattern, which I totally believe will change once we get past the Paris show. But yes, it is going to get down. I can't remember if I put the one on the dick board, but the one goes on the dick board. And of course we got a dive. Put a 1 on the dive counter. We then had an LA Knight interview next, and understandably, he was still annoyed that CM Punk had thrown him through a table last week. This is why wrestling the best. And he was like, maybe it's on accident, maybe it was on purpose, but even if it was a mistake, do you see what he did afterwards? Shrug emoji. So nope, I don't like him. It also means that while CM Punk was walking around going, oh my gosh, we should all walk together, that's all out the window. And let's face it, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk are all hungry for success. Which is why, after Clash in Paris, LA Knight is going to make sure he sends them home hungry. And not only is that like a deep cut reference to a Bret Hart promo back in the day, but it's also something you'd write in a kid's book. That's why I thought it was one of the best things on the show. I laughed out loud. He's also going to set Bron Breakker back to factory settings. And I was like, isn't that a good thing? It means you're basically going to turn him into the monster he was when he got out of the box. But I'm giving it an up. LA Knight's one of those dudes, he could sit there and just say random things like, oh my gosh, my coffee cup has become a rat. And you just go, man, he's really gonna kick somebody's ass. And isn't it nice he's in this position? I say yes, I say up. We then got a big old video for Rusev, and we got one with Sheamus later, because of course we are building to their matching Clash in Paris. Kind of felt like we should have done more here, but hey ho, throw it to one side. When the Judgment Day were arguing again, Raquel Rodriguez was like, would you all calm down? Dominic Mysterio then turned to Finn Balor and was like, well, you could help me out with this AJ Styles situation, because you've known him for a long time. And Finn Balor actually did that. He went to talk to Adam Pearce, and out of nowhere later on, it's Styles versus Finn Balor. I mean, I'm all good with that. Raquel also turned to Roxanne Perez and said, make sure you're ready for your match, which I guess is their pump-up routine, when it was time for Penta versus Kofi Kingston. And amazingly, this is the feud that's kind of come from nowhere. Penta has 0 friends, but he's taking on all of the New Day, and he's doing a good job, because Xavier Woods here, after taking the Mexican Destroyer, had a neck brace on, and he's all broken. I love that man, he will sell everything. Kofi made me laugh out loud too, because at one point Penta was going for a dive. Kofi just legged it, which is the right thing to do. I think he understands the dive counter. Plus, he then grabbed Penta and essentially threw him into out on the announce table. Once again, I was giggling though because Michael Cole actually said the words, do you know if the New Day lose to Penta here, they're going to be embarrassed. Now, I think what he meant was, you don't want to lose back-to-back against someone. But he may as well have gone, man, that Penta, what a lame wrestler. Nobody wants to lose to him. Maybe we just need to rejig that a little bit. I think at one point too, Penta was going to do a hurricanrana off the top rope when he lost his footing, but he still hit a superplex, and man, as long as everybody is safe, do I love it when wrestlers do this. That's when you see what somebody can do in the ring. Do you know how hard that is to do, especially when your brain has probably gone into 100 miles an hour panic mode? Thought it was very impressive. We were really getting behind Kofi Kingston too, because he kicked out the Penta driver, and everybody's like, well, that's never happened before. But this is why I enjoyed Corey Graves on commentary. He was like, excuse me, he is a former world champion. That was around about 6 years ago, but damn it, we should shout about it more. This is where the one goes on the dick board, because Grayson Waller was just causing such a fuss, which is when Penta kicked him and his papers went everywhere. When Kofi Kingston hit the Trouble in Paradise, and Kofi beat Penta. Now listen, I love Penta. I think his WWE run has been brilliant, but when this did happen, my gosh, I felt warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, because boy, howdy do I love me some Kofi Kingston. Also, sometimes you have to have the surprise winner. Keeps you on your toes. So I am going to go Groundhog Day here, because I'm going to give a match an up, and I did like the finish, but yes, I'm giving a 1 on the dick board. Usually, we just make sure we have one overwhelming down to cover all of these. You know, it's fun to change things every single week. I don't want them to go away entirely. I just want to see more creative finishes. That's the best way to put it. I don't care if every single match ends in somewhat of a schmoz, as long as everybody sits down and thinks about the schmoz. A sentence nobody's ever said in the history of the world. Down. We then had one of my favourite segments of the show, because Io Sky and Rhea Ripley were just like, oh man, I'm so happy that you helped me out last week. When Oscar and Kairi Sane popped up in the background like they were cartoons. They also saw these two embrace, and I honestly thought we were going to get that sound effect that goes dun, 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 and some credit was going to roll. But I don't mind WWE leaning into this stuff every now and then. It is so entertaining to watch, especially with Oscar and Kairi Sane. The fact that Oscar is so mad and Kairi Sane is having an emotional breakdown over this because she can't handle her friends falling out. I like the story a lot. Adam Pearce also then told Stephanie Vaquer, I'm very sorry, but the person you were wrestling for the World Championship got pregnant, so now I have to find you another opponent, and we'll give it a week. I mean, you can't do anything about that. Wrestling will always be the most important of the least important things, but yeah, just in context of watching it on a television show, that's a pretty mad thing to be told. This is when we did indeed set up Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title at Clash in Paris, because Becky Lynch came out and said, ha, Nikki Bella said she was going to call me out, but no, she's not. What do I look like? Some kind of dog? Then Nikki Bella walked out and said, well, if you don't want to be a dog, stop being a bitch. I was like, okay, I can see where this is going. Becky also insulted the fact that Nikki Bella had a broken neck, which is a very interesting thing to go after, when she was like, yes, we all understand what you did for the business and the audience you did bring in, but I've replaced you, bro, so nobody needs you anymore. Nikki just thinks Becky was scared because for years she was nothing more than Charlotte's Flair's sidekick, which again was a punch to the gut. When Becky, and I do enjoy this new character, was like, oh yeah? Well, Sports Illustrated thinks I'm the #1 wrestler in the world. And of course, Bella then turned into the most stereotypical babyface because she was like, what a sentence. It doesn't matter what Sports Illustrated thinks. It only matters what each and every single one of these fans think. I like to imagine we could enjoy both. Becky then shut the British fans down by saying, surprise, surprise, you're showing off oppressive behaviour. I was like, man, some of these lines are absolutely hilarious. When, and obviously I'm not going to say it here, you don't have to put the kids to bed, we acted like we were going to say the C word. That's right. If you are a child, we're talking about cuddles. Of course, we're talking about cuddles. But no, it turned out Nikki Bella thought Becky Lynch was a coward. I was like, why did you... were you actually going to say what is considered the worst expletive on national television? I don't think you were. Becky then reminded everyone that Birmingham is an absolute hole, and even Ozzy Osbourne left, when, of course, they had a big old fight and Nikki Bella essentially left Becky Lynch late. No, actually, this was pretty fun to watch, all things considered, and it's nice seeing Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch do their thing, because they never really had an interaction like this. But it was kind of like that opening promo. It was just totally fine. Like, I am going to give it an up, but all of the build for Clash in Paris kind of just feels like we're in a bit of a lounge going, you know, Mott, we can have the best time ever because we know the fans are going to go crazy regardless. So I will give you more opinions. We do get out the other end of this pay-per-view because I think something is going to happen. But yeah, I'm giving it up. It was inoffensive, almost the most offensive thing ever. But I don't think we're ever going to talk about it again. We then cut to CM Punk, who was going to address LA Knight. He said, of course, I didn't put LA Knight through the table on purpose. That just happened because he's a clumsy clog. He's also totally obsessed with winning that World Championship back because, of course, Seth Rollins did screw him over. And if he has to, he will cripple all 3 of his opponents. I'm like, all right, so guess what? You can get a crowbar and just smash him in the knee. CM Punk, you need to calm down. He then made sure he stole LA Knight's cadence when he called himself CM Punk. And look, I am very intrigued about this match. My only worry with it is that I just do not believe Seth Rollins is going to lose, so it doesn't have much jeopardy. Listen, I am going to give CM Punk an up. I don't know if this was scripted or not scripted. I mean, it wasn't. He would never take from a script. But he just makes everything he says sound believable, even when he's saying unhinged things like, man, maybe I'll make sure you never walk again. Punk just gets it, dude. Giving it up. When we actually did get Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez, a small part of me, this part here, was a bit like, should we be doing this on a random episode of Raw? I kind of feel like you could build that up and put it on pay-per-view. What do I know? I couldn't even keep my hair. We, of course, are going to put a 1 on the dick board and a 1 on the dive counter because Roxy was doing dives 2025 and Raquel Rodriguez was getting involved. It is so out of hand, especially on Monday Night Raw. I mean, SmackDown does it too. As I always say, people forget this. If you like it and you don't care, that's great. I'm happier for you than I am for me. It's not like I walk around stomping going, nah, I can't believe WWE is doing this. I still enjoy it for what it is, but when I put my critical hat on, which also covers the shine off my bald head, just think to myself, to repeat what I went back to earlier, I think we could just be doing something more. That's it. It's not a big deal. Bless Rhea Ripley as well, because she let Roxanne Perez have loads in this, and because Roxy is so much smaller than Rhea, she was working over the leg, and while I don't think anybody totally believed she was going to win, it once again established that if you were talking about the future of the women's division, you are looking at Roxy. Raquel then kept getting involved, so eventually Rhea went and smacked her right in the face, and just when it looked like Perez was going to win with the pop rocks, Rhea Ripley was like, I'm higher up the totem pole than you at the moment, this isn't going to happen. She hit the riptide, and she got the 1, 2, 3. Now, I am going to give it an up because they worked so well together. Once again, it gets me very excited about what could be coming down the line. I'm in one of my moods today, usually a mood that will get the social media people mad, but that's fine. The DIC nonsense is getting it down. That's right. And also, I kind of think the Raw Tag Team Championships are just in the gutter at the moment. We don't do anything with them, so I'm tying it into that down as well. And that has nothing to do with Rhea and Roxanne Perez, but it just popped in my head, and I'm tired, so I'm doing it anyway. Now, the Judgment Day did attack after this when Io Sky made the save, and keep that one in your head, because after we saw the Judgment Day had a big row again, that's right, Asuka and Kairi Sane, well, more Asuka lost her mind. Because after Io and Rhea had another chat in the back and Rhea Ripley walked off, Asuka was just like, I can't believe you're doing this. We're meant to be family. Maybe I'll punch you in the face. And poor Kairi Sane, she is so sad that she can't keep her friends together. though I do have one wrestling point to talk of. Rhea Ripley left, right? She walked away, but she must have heard this. They were basically in a corridor, although she never came back. And the reason I mention it is what if she fell into the Phantom Zone? We may never see her again. When we didn't get AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, and man, this just made me feel so damn good in my Tootsie Toes. There was no nonsense, no craziness. They just had such a solid wrestling match, reminded you how good they are. And I probably think one of the reasons we did do this is maybe they're never going to have this opportunity in the UK again. I'm just going to give it an up. AJ Styles won with the Styles Clash because, of course, next week he is going to have his Intercontinental title match with Dominic Mysterio. I'll tell you about that in just a minute. Finn Balor doesn't get his flowers. AJ Styles, in many ways, doesn't get his flowers. I just thought it was great. I absolutely loved it. These two are proper goats. Let's get it up. This is when we did get that big section with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, because Roman said, yes, listen to me, Jey, you can't trust CM Punk, you can't trust LA Knight. You need to start trusting yourself because you're the guy, you're the man. You're always walking around helping everybody else, but now it's time for Jey Uso to be Jey Uso. Now, personally, if I was Jey, I'd be like, can you apologize to me, you horrible gaslighter? But he didn't do that. He also chuckled a little bit because Roman did say, stop making friends and just go out on your own. But it really did make Jey Uso feel like a massive deal. And if you really want to buy into the story, that maybe, just maybe, he's going to win on Sunday or Saturday, or whatever the hell that pay-per-view is. He is not. That is not going to go down as far as my predictions are concerned. But I am going to give this an up. We need more of Roman doing this, because again, he basically had him trapped in an emotional prison for 5 years. We also had a brand new Bayley video, which continues on what we have been doing the last few weeks, where in her head, she's like the old hugger Bayley, but in herself, she's the new heel Bayley, whatever the flub she's meant to be. Some people, I think, misconstrued what I think about this. It is utterly silly and ridiculous. Why can we hear Bayley's inner thoughts? But absolutely, I think it's great. This is over-the-top wrestling nonsense, or dare I say it, sports entertainment. Yeah. The only thing I would have done away with is after we cut to live Valkyria, and I was like, oh no, what's wrong with Bayley? Somebody needs to check on her. And then Pearce like, yeah, I know. We should keep an eye on Bayley. That bit was a little bit too much, but in terms of me waiting and seeing to where this is going to go, I like it a lot. Let's push flipping Bayley. This is what Adam Pearce also made AJ versus Dominic for next week, and the absolute highlight was Finn Balor was selling in the background because AJ Styles had whipped his ass, and when he heard this news, he just smiled. So obviously the Judgment Day are going to break up soon or go through another change. Finn Balor, man, is absolutely brilliant, as is Dominic Mysterio. He called Adam Pearce Charles Xavier. Just giving it a round of applause. And you know what? Flub it. And giving it up to the Judgment Day. I just think they're fantastic. This is when Bron Breakker was headed to the ring when Roman Reigns appeared and threw him into a box-like structure. Then everybody started to brawl, and I guess LA Knight was worried because Bron had his ass kicked and he wasn't in a match. So he grabbed Breakker, he dragged him to the ring, and in about 5 minutes, Bron Breakker returned the tire on LA Knight and he was whipping his ass. I was like, LA, I want to be that guy, but you look a bit like a chump. Now he was able to boot him right in the face when Bron Breakker went for a spear, when he hit a superplex and got the yeah elbow. He loves doing that. When, yes, Seth Rollins' music hit and he ran to the ring, and LA Knight was so surprised by this because quite clearly he doesn't watch Monday Night Raw. He turned around right into a spear. I mean, it's every single week. Put a one on the dick board. It also allowed Bron Breakker to hit another spear to pin LA Knight for the 1-2-3, so at least we did do it twice. But I am just giving it a down, especially when it comes to the main event. Every single week it's a disqualification or it's a distraction. I mean, last week we had that Extreme Rules match just to get around this. And if you are going to place it here, which I actually don't mind, because it should be the MO of Seth Rollins' group, then don't do it throughout the rest of the show. This feels very simple to me, but at the same time, I admit it, I am stupid. And then laughed out loud again because the Vision were whipping LA Knight's ass, so Jey Uso came out to make the save. And he got pedigreed. I was like, dude, that was a terrible attempt. When, of course, CM Punk's music hit and this place went crazy, and he was able to throw bodies everywhere, but then he was looking at LA Knight and Jey Uso and LA Knight were looking at him, and these guys all fell out as well, I suppose, because Jey Uso was all pumped up from Roman Reigns' love, which is the worst sentence I've ever said. Not only did he take out LA Knight, but eventually he was like, you know what, my cuz did say you were bad news, CM Punk, and he booted him right in the face. This made me so damn happy. We talked about the last 2 weeks. I don't want baby faces being all friendly just because they're on the babyface team. Jey Uso should hate LA Knight, and he should hate CM Punk, because right now they're in his way of getting back to the World Championship, which means more to him than oxygen. Not oxygen, he wouldn't be able to breathe, but I am giving that part an up. I kind of thought the match was just sort of here and there. At least Bron Breakker got a win as we continue to push him, but I absolutely love it when a babyface acts in a way that a real human would. Let's get it up. Seth Rollins is also having the time of his life as well, and it would be so great if we did change the championship. I can't explain why. I've got nothing against Seth, but I can just feel it in the air. But yeah, at the same time, I don't think we are going to do that. And I think the reason we have planted this seed of deception between the three good guys is because eventually they're all going to punch each other right in the face. Which brought us to the end of another Monday Night Raw, and yes, this does tie into what I've talked about before. It's just okay at the moment, but if you have chosen to take a month off and just read the results on the internet, or watch me, which I massively appreciated, I would totally understand. We're in a holding pattern, to use that word again. Let's see what happens next week, and I think it will be different. So it gets one of these again. Like, it isn't up, my finger is kind of pointing towards the sky, but my wrist is limp. You get it. Now, of course, I could be totally wrong with this, so make sure you let me know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen for ups and downs from SmackDown or Forbidden Door. One of them will be there. It's totally your choice, I think. Probably not. But otherwise, have a terrific day. I'm now going to rest my voice. I'll see you soon.